Hey, Northern Michigan. Happy Super Bowl halftime. Sports Director Harrison Beeby here at Up North Live. I'm in the Up North Live digital studio, and I'm being joined by one of the esteemed Detroit Lions voices for Northern Michigan. He used to work here at 7 and 4 back in the good old days. But now Matthew Soltysiak, you see his background, is the host of the Not the Same Old Lions podcast. And man, has he taken this gem of an idea he had a few years ago. He actually asked me what I thought of the idea. And I said, Matt, it's all about your passion. And if you put a lot into it, you're going to get a lot out of it. And in my opinion, he has put a lot of great work into that every week. He's talking to James Cook of the Traverse City Record Deal, Jerry Angels, legendary head coach, former head coach of the Glen Lake Lakers in the area as well. And these guys, if you want a good Lions podcast, they're the ones to go to. And we'll touch on Lions in a second. But Matt, we're here at Super Bowl 60's halftime. I don't think I'm out of line in saying it's slightly underwhelming halftime. And Dan Campbell would definitely not approve of a 3-field goal halftime. But here we are, not exactly the most exciting game, but the good news is it's still a single-digit game, so there's still a lot more potential for fireworks to come.
Yeah, it definitely. Defensive game, we expected that probably going in. From a fan standpoint, you like to see some touchdowns, you like to see some explosives on offense. Haven't really seen either of those. But if you're holding out a little hope, I mean, it was the Titans and the Rams at 6-3 at halftime like 25 years ago, where the final play ended a yard short of a touchdown to win the game. So there's always a second half, maybe.
Well, and I still reference to everybody the Patriots Falcons 28-3 halftime, and everybody just conversed with themselves. They didn't care about football the rest of the night until Tom Brady made them care about football again. And what do you know? It's the same team that's in that spot. Yeah, they show that statistic of the Patriots offense, really nothing to be proud of. And they kind of had a weird road to get here, winning a snow game in Denver, which is a very admirable win to get on the way to the Super Bowl. But is it the best way to judge the best team? That's always up for debate. Having said that, they're here for a reason. They're playing in this game. Seattle playing this game. So far, I think the MVP has been former Michigan State running back Kenneth Walker. I think he's right around the 100-yard mark for Seattle's offense. And no touchdowns, but helping them really get some good chip shot field goals there.
Yeah, you're right. You said their path here. They also went in against a backup quarterback. Their defense is doing a solid job against the Seahawks. You're right. Kenneth Walker is paving the way. I'm kind of surprised that Seattle's not leaning into him even a little bit more at this point.
Yeah.
I will say the Seattle defense is not disappointing. That sack by Riley Mills when he went right through the offensive lineman and took Drake May down. I'm looking for a turnover or an interception that might cement the defensive player of the game to be the MVP for Seattle should Seattle continue to move forward in the manner that they are. Also Christian Gonzalez is keeping New England in this game. He had two very big breakups that could have gone, one for a long completion, the other one for a touchdown. And then you're looking at, a 13-0 game or something like that, if not more. So I got to give Christian Gonzalez some credit for some defensive plays.
Yeah, a lot of times defense does win championships. I've heard that expression before, and I think that's well on display right now. And that's really been Seattle's calling card. Sam Darnold is having a great year, but this team is in this spot because of their defense. And, I kind of felt like from the second half of the season on, I know the Lions hadn't completely fallen out of it by that point, but I kind of just felt like the NFC West team, one of those teams, was going to be the one in the Super Bowl and probably winning the Super Bowl at the end of the day, depending on how Denver was going to look at a certain point. But so far, Seattle's making me look pretty good on that prediction, and we'll see what the second half has in store. And I do also want to give a heads up if you're watching. I know Ronald has chimed in. Not a big fan of the game. He's saying boring game so far. It is not the most exciting at first half. So if you have any questions or comments, we'll gladly share them here on the Facebook, YouTube, and X live streams. And we're going to talk with Matt post-game as well about everything. So hopefully we get a little more to talk about in that second half. But before we wrap things up here, Matt, let's go ahead and touch on the Lions. They're unfortunately watching from home, but, the offseason has started. They have their offensive coordinator. Still a long ways to go until, actually not really that long until free agency. It is just a couple weeks away. What do you think is the top priority come March?
Well, they got a few top priorities in this one. The big thing this year, Harrison, there's going to be more transition pieces this year than we've seen in the last 2 years. And so, I was super optimistic coming off of last year into what 2025 would look like. Didn't go the way we expected. I'm going to sound like a broken record and probably, an echo chamber for everybody else. But you got to get the offensive line right first. That is the number one thing that went wrong. I think if you had Frank Ragnow in there, that's a domino that makes, either Glasgow a backup or the left guard, and then you had a lot of different things go a different way. But I think the offensive line, you could have as many as 4 guys starting in new spots on the offensive line come next year, depending on some of the decisions that go forward here.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of shifting, as every NFL team does in an offseason. And, I think there's a very polarizing way to look at it for the Lions. And the way they ended that season, there's reason to be suspect of some moves that the team is maybe going to or not going to make. But at the same time, we know this is a very competitive division, and we have no reason to believe it won't be one of the best divisions in football once again next season, top to bottom.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, there are multiple areas the Lions need to work on and look at, and a lot of things to consider. But I think it has to start with that offensive line. Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs did incredible. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, despite many of those issues. But if they can fix that offensive lineup, it's going to make every other part just a little bit better because there'll be a little bit less stress on all those other parts. So it's got to start with the offensive line, and then they've got some work to do in some other areas too.
Well, and you're talking the truth because that's when we noticed things were turned around, when we really liked the way the offensive line was playing back a couple of years ago. So that really is the heartbeat of that offense, besides just an individual player, is really how that front end protection is going. And quick shout out, I know you've tweeted about the David Montgomery potential of him maybe not being with the team. We want to recognize David Montgomery. He's hosting a football camp up, I think, in the Traverse City, Leelanau County area. I can't remember where. It's right around this Traverse City area in June, correct?
Yeah, actually right downtown Traverse City, he'll be hosting one. So, and, he made some comments at the Super Bowl talking to the new offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, and the sound's going a different direction. It sounds like, hey, maybe it's not as bleak as Brad Holmes and some people made it sound right at the end of the season, that maybe there's a way for David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to both be there next season. We know Dan Campbell said the Lions are better when David Montgomery's involved. And for everybody's sake, I hope he's involved and he is wearing Honolulu blue when the season kicks off.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of strength there. I'd draft him again on my fantasy team in the later rounds if I could on the Lions. So I know they appreciate that. Real quick before we wrap up at halftime, Matt, have you had a favorite commercial so far?
It's probably going to reference my age on this one, Harrison, but I'm liking the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. I love the nostalgia flashbacks from even going back to Ted Danson and Cheers. I used to watch that show with my mom when I was a little kid. And so, the Dunkin' Donuts one for me. How about you?
You know what? You'd bring up a good point. We really need to do like a Cheers themed commercial. I think maybe they've done one in the past, but like that's always going to hit when you revisit those old shows that everybody talked about. So, it's kind of different in the streaming era, but the one that everybody sat down in front of the TV and watched, we kind of had a little mini party here at the station. So we're kind of conversing while we're watching, but I really liked the Rock Band commercial with Danny McBride and Keegan-Michael Key. I thought that kind of brought some of the 80s vibe to it. So, so far, the ones I've paid attention to, that one I kind of laughed at the most. A few other celebrities in there as well. But, we'll see what the second half has in store. Hopefully a better score. Hopefully some more intriguing commercials. And the halftime show is going on right now. So whatever halftime show you might be watching or not watching, hope you enjoy a little break and enjoy the second half. And Matthew Soltysiak, Not the Same Old Lions podcast. We'll talk to you in a few hours post-game.
Sounds great, Harrison.
All right. Thanks, Matt.